Welcome to Coffee with Viking. I am Mike. Cheers. Lamentations, the saddest book in the Bible. As tragic as the Holocaust was in the 1940s, with 6 million Jews exterminated in a wave of genocide that swept over Europe, there's an event in Jewish history every bit as horrifying. The body count is much less, but the pain and the sense of hopelessness for the survivors are almost unbearable. The Jews lose more than their holy city, Jerusalem, which invaders burn and methodically disassemble stone by stone. The Jews also lose more than their nation, politically dismantled by the execution or exile of its leaders. And most of the citizens, worst of all the Jewish people, lose their God, or so they think. That fear is reflected in the writer's final word. The last note sounded in the short collection of bitterly blue songs called Laments. Restore us, O Lord, and bring us back to you again. Give us back to the joys we once had. Or have you utterly rejected us? Are you angry with us? And something tells me that this song will be sang very much again here during the Great Tribulation for all of those who are left here. But that was in Lamentations 5:21 through 22. Lamentations 5:21 and 22. Turn thou us unto thee, O Lord, and we shall be turned. Renew our days as of old. But thou hast utterly rejected us. Thou art very wroth against us. The writer seems to have been an eyewitness to Babylon's invasion of the southern Jewish nation of Judah in 586 BC. Now writing from exile in Babylon, he describes the starvation and cannibalism he saw inside Jerusalem during Babylon's 2.5-year siege. The poet talks too about the heartbreak of having to live so far from home, then expressing this sorrow at the nation's sin that caused all this who caused all this in the first place. He sings his last song. He pleads with God for one more great exodus. He wants to go home. The main point of the book of Lamentations: grief consumes the Jews who survived the decimation of their country and are exiled in what is now Iraq. Deeply repentant for bringing this on themselves because of their sins, they wonder if God will ever forgive them, and they fear he won't. The book doesn't name its writer. Ancient Jewish tradition credits the prophet Jeremiah. For one reason, the writer seems to have been an eyewitness to the fall of Jerusalem, as was Jeremiah. Also, Jeremiah wrote at least one other book of laments, funeral songs for King Josiah. These songs of sorrow have become a tradition and are recorded in the Book of Laments in 2 Chronicles 35:25. Second Chronicles 35:25, and Jeremiah lamented for Josiah, and all the singing men and the singing women spake of Josiah in their lamentations to this day, and made them an ordinance in Israel, and behold, they are written in the Lamentations. That's probably a different book, but it shows that Jeremiah knew how to write laments. Not to mention, it was right after the book of Jeremiah, which was written by Jeremiah, and it's talking about the events that happened that the book of Jeremiah was talking about was coming. The date, there's a 50-year window of opportunity for writing Lamentations. The author describes events beginning with Babylon's 2.5-year siege and sack of Jerusalem from 588 to 586 BC. But he writes before the Jews start returning from exile in 538 BC. The location. The book is written from exile in Babylon, an empire headquartered in what is now what we know as Iraq. And in this little side note here, Babylonian Blues. Asked to sing about their lost city of Jerusalem, Jewish captives in Babylon refuse. Beside the rivers of Babylon we sat and wept as we thought of Jerusalem. We put away our harps, hanging them on the branches of poplar trees. Psalm 137, 1 and 2. Psalm 137, 1 and 2. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. Babylonian soldiers had leveled Jerusalem stone by stone. Right there is the picture behind that side note. But God did. Kept warning them that this was going to happen, as we read in Jeremiah. But as we know about God, we can never stray too far, that He won't forgive us if we come to Him. But if He says that there is a certain time limit, like they had, because they had the 70 years of captivity they had to go through for their sins. But He did keep His promise. As we all know, they were restored back to their homeland. And as we're seeing in the news now, of course, Israel is under attack again, so we do know that they were restored back to their homeland. after that 70 years of captivity and all the sorrow they had to endure, though. That's what the Lamentations is about, which is why it is the saddest book in the Bible. But I thought I would go ahead and jump into that one next, because we just wrapped up Jeremiah, and it just seemed to make sense to go into the next book over, which ties that up. So, stay blessed, stay caffeinated. Much love.